On your Friday episode of Locked On Raptors, it's a very special episode of the show where, yes, we'll talk about the Raptors and why they stink so much to start the year, but also it's a pretty big day in Toronto sports. We're going to talk about the Blue Jays a little, the parallels between this team and the 2019 title team, and our feelings about Game 6 tonight, all with our dear pal, that is, Joe Wolfond, coming up.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Friday, October the 31st. It's spooky out there. And I am your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 12 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work or on Blue Sky. You can find the show on Instagram. You can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server, where everyone is very happy about the basketball team so far. They are actually happy about the baseball team, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show. Today's show is brought to you by friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your first bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started, and we will get started here on a hybrid episode of the podcast. A little basketball, a little baseball, because it's the last day we get to distract ourselves from the bad Toronto Raptors with our beautiful, wonderful, about to win the World Series, damn it, Blue Jays. And here to talk about what's going on with the Raptors so far, and then we'll just kind of ease ourselves into a little light Blue Jays talk to finish off the show as we head into Game 6 in Toronto tonight. Boy, oh boy, it's our dear pal, Joe Wolfond, formerly of The Score. How's it going, pal?
It's great, man. What a time to be alive.
Wonderful. The sports part. Everything else, take or leave. But boy, oh boy, the Blue Jays
look,
sure are doing their job.
we can reckon with all of that after tonight. But for tonight, it's nothing but optimism and joy.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Raptors then.
Tough swerve.
Yeah, we will eat our vegetables here first, as this is ostensibly a Toronto Raptors podcast. Again, it feels like a big enough event day in the city that we can pivot our attention to a different sport for a hot minute. Yes, the Raptors play the Cavaliers tonight as well. I'll be watching the first 20 minutes of that and then catching the rest on PVR on Saturday morning. So we'll talk about that Monday, as we usually do with the weekend games. But yeah, let's start with the Raptors, Joe. 1-4 to start the year. The defense, not so good. 29th in the league. The offense, kind of surprisingly all right. Seems pretty good early on. 12th in the league per clean the glass right now. That's a decent start for an offense that I thought was going to take some time to come around. Basic question for you, Joe. They're 1-4. What the hell is wrong with the Toronto Raptors in your view?
I think you basically hit it already, right? Like, it's the defense.
Yeah.
If you coming into this year, if you were like, all right, they're going to be
layers of that if you want. You can peel the onion if you
want. Yes. So, but I mean, that is where the problems are occurring, right? Like, if you were to come into the season saying they're going to be 12th in offense, I think you'd feel pretty damn good about that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think the half-court offense is obviously still going to have some kinks to iron out, and I think that's okay. The last time I was on, we talked about, right, the transition offense, and you were like, they were super bad at transition offense last year. How can they get better at that? And I think what I said was, like, just getting as many transition possessions as possible is, like, more than half the battle. And so far they're doing both, right? I think they're third in transition frequency and like fifth or sixth in transition scoring efficiency. So that's a really good combo, and that's where I think the bulk of their offensive success is happening right now. They're also shooting 40% from three, which I think you could probably expect to come down. But Ingram, to me, has looked really good offensively. I think that, like, his fit within the structure of this offense has been more seamless than I would have anticipated. I like that they're looking to get him the ball kind of on the move, running him off of flare screens, Iverson cuts, curls, things like that, and not just like having him sort of initiate possessions from a standstill. And I think that's worked out well. I think Scotty also, like what we talked about in preseason, all the struggles that he had, obviously that is looking like whether it was a blip, whether it was him just like easing his way into the season, that seems to be behind him. He's playing with a lot more intent and a lot more force. And IQ, for as much as he has struggled to shoot the ball, which is really like the one thing that you hope that he does at a really high level for this offense, I actually think has looked to have progressed in like some other aspects of offense, just in terms of like his decision making, like his overall floor game. The defense, again, is like a totally separate matter, which we can get into talking about. But offensively, apart from the shooting, I actually think IQ's looked pretty good. So on that side of the ball, I think you're happy. So what's wrong with the Raptors? The answer is their defense is absolutely atrocious. And I think it's like a combination of things, right? It's personnel, it's scheme, and to me, what I see when I watch them is just like a distinct lack of connectedness. And that becomes a huge problem when you are playing this super aggressive high wire scheme that requires a ton of scrambling and communication, and you got to be rotating on a string, and that's just not happening. So it's kind of a cascading effect where, you're trying to play this pressure defense, but actually the perimeter isn't really holding. The ball pressure isn't really having its intended effect. And then on the backside of that, the communication is not good. The rotations are not good. And you're just getting burned, giving up 72% shooting inside the restricted area. And like, yes, they are turning teams over at, I think, the second highest rate in the league. That's part of the point. And that's also part of the point, you're fueling transition offense, so you're helping yourself on the other side of the ball. We've talked about this. Like, I get it. But it is not working defensively, right? And the sacrifices that you're making in pursuit of that live ball turnover generation just has not been worth it at all.
Yeah, and I think, I've talked about this a little bit this week. It's been kind of a through line. The trade-off of we're going to go for steals as our sort of transition igniter, it's not really paying dividends. It's not, the math game's not working because they're just giving so much up in terms of like made baskets that they're not able to run off rebounds, which have done incredibly well. And I think the last three games, they're right now they're 8th in the league in transition frequency per clean the glass. I think they were clearly number 1 after the Hawks and Bucks games. They ran a ton in those games. Last 3 games, it's been like 15% or less in terms of percentage of possessions in transition. And I think that really is down to, sure, you're getting a couple extra steals here and there from the system you're playing, but what are you actually giving up in terms of opportunities to run by giving up like 60% from the field, right? Like it's just, the math is not quite lining up. And I think because the offense has been pretty good, I've said this all week, like maybe trust the offense a little bit more and don't feel like you need to sell out for everything, and just like clean the glass and get stops and stay in front of the ball. And look, maybe it's the personnel thing, right? Like maybe Emmanuel quickly just cannot possibly stay in front of the ball to save his life. I don't think he's that bad. I think he's had times in the past where he's better than this. Like this is clearly the nadir of his defensive effort as a Raptor, I would say. Yeah. And you couple that with all of the, sort of aggressive doubling and doubling, frankly, in sort of very uncreative ways and like one pass away from an excellent shooter all the time. Like, yes, this is how teams are setting up to try to bait the Raptors into that. But it's like there's no real innovation with how they're doing it. It's all just like the most baseline thing, and they're doing that poorly too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think I would agree that they aren't doing it in creative ways. I just don't think that creativity in the way that they're doubling is actually serving them at all. So,
sure.
Just like a couple of instances off the top of my head, the Rockets game is the one that's freshest in my mind. But it's like, Kevin Durant is running an inverted pick and roll with Reed Shepherd at like the logo. And CMB is guarding KD, okay? And so in that situation, it's like a lot of times you will see the screen defender jump out to hedge to like prevent the ball handler from turning the corner. And then it's like a hedge and recover because you don't want to put yourself in a switch in that situation. You don't want IQ switching onto Kevin Durant. And if you don't jump out and the screen hits, then KD's going to be able to stroll into a three, or he's going to be able to drive into the lane unimpeded. But this is like, again, it's like happening out close to midcourt, which I understand KD has range like that, but still. But the other aspect of that is just like, dude, Reed Shepherd's not going to be able to screen Colin Murray-Boyles, right? Like, you don't need Emmanuel Quickley to be jumping out at KD. And also, Emmanuel Quickley is very unlikely to be forcing a turnover or a bad decision in that situation because of the size difference between those two guys. And it wasn't even a hedge and recover. Like, it was a straight up blitz. And then it was just a kick to Reed Shepherd for a wide open three. So that one sticks out in my mind. And then they're just, like the blind doubles. I honestly don't think I could do a better job eviscerating the blind doubles better than Samson did on his last podcast. But the one early in that Spurs game where I think it was Harrison Barnes on the wing, guarded by Ingram, when RJ comes up for the blind double. And it's just like the theoretical success rate on that blind double, coming up with a steal in that situation is so low. It's just not worth what they gave up, which was, hey, Julian Champagny is now wide open, and it's just a pass to him for a dunk. So all this stuff to me is just like the risk is not worth the reward. Yeah. And so a lot of that is stuff that I feel like they just need to dial back.
Work smart, not hard, right?
Yeah. And it's just like, the fouling is just out of control, right? Yeah. Like they're giving up 34.2 free throw attempts per game, which, just for context, they gave up the most free throw attempts per game in the league last year, and that was 25.2. So they're giving up 9 more free throws a game than that. And again, it's just like unnecessary stuff. Again, like, to go back to the Quickley thing, it's like, yeah, maybe he's just never going to be good at like containing the ball in the perimeter, but do you need to have him like pressuring Josh Okogie in the backcourt? Like, I understand it's like Josh Okogie and he's not, super confident with his handle, so maybe that's an opportunity to force a mistake. But what ended up happening there is literally Josh Okogie just like put a crossover move on IQ and got past him, and IQ had to foul him. So like, or didn't even have to, but did foul him. And it's like, hey, maybe you just let him go by you and you try to catch up to him because like, it's Josh Okogie. And he's not necessarily going to be able to burn you in a man advantage situation. So I just think there are like mistakes happening all over, personnel issues, scheme issues. And obviously, like, the elephant in the room to me is just Pirtle. The Yak thing is concerning. Like, if he's just not going to be healthy this year, then that's really, really damaging to this team. And that's the kind of one thing that I'm looking at where, if I'm really ready to like completely throw my preseason thoughts about this team out the window and just say, actually, they might be screwed, and maybe having a bad season ahead of this 2026 draft class isn't the worst thing in the world, then that's really the one thing I would point to where I could say, oh, this team isn't going to be nearly what we thought.
I don't want to do the tank thing again. It will drive me to the brink of insanity, and we're going to leave it there before I get spirally and talk about a good team. How about that? We're going to talk about the Blue Jays coming up next, and how their run to the World Series potentially ending tonight is making us feel, especially through the lens of people who just like not recently, my God, it's Friday, watched a Toronto Raptors team win a championship in a very stirring way. We're going to get into that coming up in just 1 second here with Wolf On. Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win, not just on game day, every day. Locking on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks, ETFs, option futures, and crypto all in one place. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Robinhood, your move, your money, your move. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at DoorDash. The NBA season is heating up, and DoorDash has found the perfect way to keep fans in their bag all season long. Whether you're watching for the highlights, your fantasy team, or you're just your favorite player, DoorDash makes every game night even better. DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating with something called the Bag Drop. Every time an NBA player drops 50 points in a game, DoorDash drops 50% off your order with Dash Pass the next day, and you're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. We're talking player-inspired drip, exclusive gear, and stuff you'll actually want. DoorDash has you covered for late-night highlights, last-minute watch parties, and double OT fuel-ups. So next time someone goes off for 50 points in an NBA game, use the promo code NBA50 the next day to get 50% off on DoorDash with Dash Pass, plus your shot at the bag drop. Dash Pass members only 50% off up to $10 the day after a 50-point game with promo code. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash in your bag all season long. Back at it here with Joe Wolfon. We ran long in that first segment, documenting what's going on with the Raptors because there's a lot going wrong with the Raptors. But we're going to pivot now to talk about our beloved, beautiful, perfect Toronto Blue Jays, who tonight have a chance to win the first World Series for the franchise since 1993. And I want to cry just thinking about it. I love the Toronto Raptors. The Blue Jays were kind of my first sports love. Basketball is my favorite sport. The Blue Jays might be my favorite team, if that makes sense. And so it's been a thrill watching this playoff run, watching them go through the gauntlet of the Aaron Judge Yankees and the Cal Raleigh Mariners and freaking Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers. It's been so thrilling. Some of the best sports I've ever seen. The Blue Jays are just like good sports incarnate. Joe, I've been thinking a lot about the Raptors championship during this, just because it happened not so long ago, and it's not like a like for like thing. Obviously, very different sports, very different just sort of circumstances for each team. I would say there's a little bit more sort of hope that this could be the beginning of something, I think, with the Jays because of the the long-term deal for Vlad and all that stuff. That felt very like we got to do it this year. It was in the case of the Raptors, but I don't know, man. Like, how have you been feeling? Have you been thinking a lot about the title run as well? And if so, like, what have you been thinking about? What kind of parallels have you been feeling or sort of observing between this beautiful Blue Jays run and the beautiful Toronto Raptors of 2019?
I actually don't see that many parallels. Like, in terms of the feeling, I think there are parallels there. In terms of the situations, I think less so. And I've seen a lot of people kind of making that comparison, and it doesn't entirely hit for me. And the big difference is like just expectations, right? Like, yeah. And I think there is a similarity in terms of the pressure, because coming into this year, it was like, remember, like Vlad was still on an expiring deal coming into the season. Bo Bichette expiring, Chris Bassett expiring, 1 year left for Springer, for Gosman, a lot of the players on this team getting older. It was kind of like, but the difference is like coming in, I wasn't thinking like, oh man, this season is our last chance to win a World Series. I was kind of thinking,
don't embarrass
this
me.
is like our last chance to like maybe compete for a wild card spot. And then the future looked bleak as hell. And I do just want to go back to that, like the feeling, the vibe at the start of the season, because I think in all of the delirium of the last few months, it's probably gotten lost just how dire things felt at that time. So like the Raptors, yes, obviously there was a ton of pressure and a ton of anxiety because Kawhi, everyone assumed was going to leave. Yeah. Almost regardless of what happened. And also we didn't know how healthy he was and like whether he was going to be able to really play or play at the level that we'd seen him play at a couple years earlier. Because 1 year earlier, he played 9 games due to this, degenerative quad condition that he had. And so I there was a lot of anxiety about that, and it was kind of like, this is it. Like, if it doesn't work out, if Kawhi walks, it's kind of like the end of this Raptors era, and they're going to blow it up or whatever. And in hindsight, that's not what ended up happening. They had one more glorious season after that. But in that sense, I can kind of understand just going into it with the feeling like something has to happen now, or this is going in a very dark direction. But that Raptors team was coming off of 59 wins. Yeah. And just added a guy who, like, when healthy, was one of the 3 best players in basketball. I think if you go back, I don't remember exactly, but I would wager they were like one of the top 5 favorites to win the championship that season.
I think in the East, it was like considered Boston, Philly, and the Raptors were kind of like the third team in there, if I recall. And I think Milwaukee must have been in there too. But yeah.
Yeah, and like going into that year, I picked them to win the East and like lose in the finals to the Warriors. So that's where I was at going into that season. And coming into this Blue Jays season, I think, I and most other people were like, best case scenario, you snag like a wild card spot and you're like the 5 or 6 seed, and then let's see what happens, right?
Yeah.
But again, to go back and just remind people of like where we were at, coming off of a 74-win season, Vlad's an impending free agent, Bo's an impending free agent. George Springer is 35 years old, in the middle of like a 3-year decline, like precipitous decline, coming off a season in which he was, quite literally one of the worst position players to get like regular playing time in all of baseball.
Yeah.
So guys in that position who are declining that steeply and are that age just don't reverse that. And then he hits like 100 in spring training, and I'm having conversations with people being like, is there a team out there that would be willing to pay down any portion of Springer's contract so we can just get him off our books? Like, that's where things were at with him. Bo Bichette is coming off a season, like the worst, by far the worst season of his career. And I know he was injured for a huge chunk of it and was maybe never fully healthy, but again, like we didn't know how that was going to affect him moving forward. And Vlad has this free agency cloud hovering over him. The rotation the year prior had been maybe, I think, the single worst in the American League. Like, it had been a complete tire fire. And so this is what we have, going into the 2025 season. It's like so many things had to go right for us to even consider the playoffs a possibility. And that has been really the most joyful thing about this year, is just how unexpected it's been. And with that Raptors team, it was like, once you saw the first couple of games with Kawhi playing, you were like, okay, like, oh shit.
The double block on Tatum with Kawhi.
That was the second game of the season, right?
That was
and they beat Boston, who was like the kind of the prohibitive Eastern Conference favorite coming into that year. And it was like, here we go. And then from that point on, it was just like, are they going to make good on their potential and maybe win a championship in this potentially their one shot that they have with Kawhi? And in this year with the Jays, it's been like, it's felt like playing with house money from the moment they swept the Yankees in that 4-game set in July.
Yeah.
And it's like, that was when you kind of started to feel something happening. And I think the fact that, so it was like they came into that 4-game set down 3 games in the AL East, right? They sweep the 4 games, and suddenly they're atop the AL East, and they never relinquished it.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. And it just kept like getting more and more ridiculous. Like the comeback wins, the unlikely heroes, night after night after night. Guys emerging from out of nowhere. Ernie Clement, Addison Barger, Dalton Varsho hitting 20 home runs in like 70 games. And then Springer, I've said this a couple times, but I think him having the season he had, after everything I just described, right?
Yeah.
Like down to an OPS that started with a 6, and like you add in the slipping defense, and he's one of the worst position players in the league at age 35. Him coming back this year and having literally the best offensive season of his career is like, I put it up there with the year that Jose Bautista hit 54 jacks and the year that Robbie Ray won Cy Young as like the most improbable individual seasons that I've ever seen as a Blue Jays fan. And I think it might even, with the home run that he hit in Game 7 of the ALCS, it might even be number 1.
Yeah.
Bo has this big bounce back year, right? Like Trey Savage, who started the year in low A, gets called up in September and is suddenly like the best pitcher on the planet. It's just, and this is what I would say, like, because you mentioned it feels more like potentially the start of something with the Jays, whereas with the Raptors, it felt like maybe a one-off. And that might be true, but I just want to say it's like entirely possible that the Jays come back next year and
win 84
they're like
games. Yeah,
they're like the same caliber of team,
mm-hmm.
but like they don't hit as well with runners in scoring position, and like a couple untimely injuries hit, and yeah, they win like 84, 85 games and they miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
Or they have a great year. They win 94, 95 games again, but they go cold at the wrong time and they're bounced in the division series. You know, like this happens in baseball all the time. Yeah. And so that's the thing about this that I would compare to 2019, and it really only started to feel this way after Kawhi hit that shot against Philly, where you start feeling like maybe this is destiny.
Yeah.
So with the Raptors, I think that's when it started to feel that way. And even still, going into that series against the Bucks, I honestly expected them to lose that series. But then again, it's like they go down 2-0.
Game 3 is the team.
Game 3, double
game,
overtime.
for sure.
Lowry's fouled out of that game, and they pulled that out, and then they, obviously win four straight. And so that was when you start to feel like, okay, this is like a special team that's maybe kissed by the gods, you know?
We're going to finish off this chat with our pal Joe Wolfond about the Blue Jays, the Raptors, Game 6 tonight, all that stuff coming up in just 1 second. But first, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game, want to ride that hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets in the same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. I'm not someone who wagers on sports very often, but when I do, I usually do it as a means of, ensuring my happiness, the happiness hedge, if you will. If I'm rooting for a sports team to win a game and I bet against them, hey, it gets some money out of the deal. And, it's not so bad if they lose the game. If they win, then hey, it's fine. Whatever. I lost the money, but the team I like won. The Raptors right now lose a lot of games. If you want to bet on the Raptors to lose games or win games, you can do that over at FanDuel. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Yeah, I think that is, like, for me, the closest parallel. It is the sort of, like, just, and I only know it because I felt it with the Raptors, and then it started to get those little tingles with the Jays during this season as well, during the playoff run. It's like, oh, I felt this before, and I know how this ends, and this rules. Like, it really does feel like there's something like preordained about it a little bit. And look, knock on wood, they play Yamamoto tonight. Nothing's guaranteed, but like, they feel like the better team in the World Series, and they just feel like everything is going their way. And sometimes that just happens in baseball, and that happened for the Raptors too. Just like everything that could have gone their way did. And even just like minor stuff like, Pascal Siakam hurts his calf and he doesn't miss time. And like, they just sort of managed to weather through that. And like, just all this little stuff that just kind of, the tiny little breaks need to go your way for anything to be successful in sports.
And the big breaks, like, Klay Thompson tearing his ACL in the middle of like an all-time Game 6.
Yeah. I think too, Joe, like the two other things that stand out to me is parallels. One, you're getting to watch a dude just like at the absolute peak of the sport carry the team right now. And it's not that Vlad is doing everything, but Vlad is doing a whole lot. And like, it's easy to be like, oh, it's the Kawhi thing. And it's like, it's not. They're very different in terms of how they go about it. A different sport, like it takes a different shape. But there is something about watching a dude who is just like clearly the best guy right now doing it, and knowing that he plays for your team and the sort of comfort, the security blanket that feels like. Like Vlad coming up now is to me like what it felt like watching Kawhi in Game 4 against the Sixers, where it's like, this game makes me want to throw up. I feel so bad, but also Kawhi is the best guy, and he's probably just going to solve it. And it is just so we don't get that often, man. Like to have a dude who's just like, he's just a steamroller of everything that's coming his way. It's pretty thrilling. And I think, to sort of tie it up here too, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, that like the gauntlet the Jays have gone through. Like that was one of the things that made the Raptors run so satisfying too, right? It was like they earned that, man. They beat 3 really good teams. Yes, Kevin Durant wasn't available for all but 12 minutes or whatever of the Warriors series, but
Yeah.
like the Warriors are still the Warriors. Steph and Clay were still Steph and Clay. Draymond was at the top of his game.
Yeah.
And
they still swept the Western Conference Finals without
exactly,
KD, right?
Yeah. And like you had the Bucks series was like a clash of titans, and the Jays have gone through just like 3 MVPs, and managed their way through it. And like not just like the guys, not just the Judge and Raleigh and Ohtani of it all, but like the pitchers they've like just totally vanquished. It's pretty remarkable. Like they've not gotten like an easy run of bad starters or hurt starters in poor form. They are just taking it to every good pitcher they see. And that's been a thing they've done all year. But to do it against like the Freeds and Rodons of the world and Schlittler when he was at his peak, and then to do it to Blake Snell in game 1 and then again in game 5. Like the only guy they haven't gotten to is Yamamoto. They'll do it tonight. But yeah, there's
and Bryce
much
Miller.
more satisfaction. And Bryce Miller, yeah.
Shout out Bryce Miller.
Like maybe the MVP of the ALCS retroactively. Yeah, like it makes it that much more gratifying when you spank all of these really, really good teams and just get kind of like the easy cakewalk run because you ran into some teams that maybe shouldn't have been there or had injuries or whatever. It's pretty sweet, man.
Yeah, and like, so I just want to say, like, we're talking about at the beginning. I was like, I think in terms of the feeling, I can see the parallels, if not necessarily like the exact circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And like that feeling of sort of like inevitability, and maybe this is the team of destiny. I've been feeling that with this Jays team since July, right? And like I was going back. I did like a search history in my text messages because like me and our buddy Joe Cacharo and also Jonah Birnbaum, it was just like, text each other about the Jays literally all the time. And I was just like, the number of times that we had texted back and forth, oh yeah, we're definitely winning the World Series. Like going back to that point in the season, it's like I'm like literally 100 times, right? We're winning the World Series. We're the team of destiny, like just over and over and over again. And there were so many instances where it was like, you could see the proof of this just being one of those teams that was somehow going to avoid the randomness of playoff baseball because they were, again, kissed by the gods. And I don't believe in this stuff in any other walk of life. But in sports, sometimes you really can just feel it. And I've felt that about this team for so long, to the point that at moments when at any other point in my fandom of the Jays or any other Toronto sports team, I'd be spiraling into like complete and utter doomerism and thinking that it was over and the magic was gone. I've managed to just like remain very zen and maintain the faith. Like, blowing the 5-game lead in the AL East down the stretch of the season. And then I'm like, I'm texting Jonah being like, no, they're going to pick themselves up and they're going to close this out and they're going to win the AL East. And they did. They won the last 4 games of the year. Losing that game 3 to the Yankees after being up 6-1. So many people spiraling. I'm like, bullpen game tomorrow, bring it on. We're going to win.
Yeah.
And I'd say there have been 2 moments where my faith has really wavered. And the first was, they lose the first 2 games at home against Seattle.
The Julio
and even
home
at that point,
run,
I'm like, it's fine. Like we still have a shot. Like, and then Julio Rodriguez hits that 2-run bomb in the first inning off of Bieber, who hadn't looked good in his last start either. And at that point, I'm just like, oh man, we might be cooked. We might not be the team of destiny. And then the next inning, Andres frickin' Jimenez, of all people, hits a 2-run homer to tie it, and they go on to shellac George Kirby. And then the next night, Jimenez does it again. And at that point, I'm like, oh yeah, like this is fine. Even after they lost that game 5, with Brendan Little kind of blowing it, Springer takes the fastball off his knee in that game. And then as soon as it was like X-rays negative on Springer, I'm like, okay, Jays in 7, Yep. The second time I wavered was after they lost the 18-inning game. And again, Springer goes out in that game. And I'm thinking he's done for the series, which he might still be. You lose a marathon game. It's 2-1. You're on the road in LA. I'm like, okay, maybe this is it. And what do? They come back without Springer. Davis Schneider like fills in as the leadoff hitter, hits a home run on the first pitch of the game against Blake Snell. Kidding me?
Yeah.
Like,
Great.
this is the team of destiny, man.
They are. It's been so fun, man. The other thing too that was so fun about watching the Raptors win the title too, and this team has it, is just like utter competence at everything, right? Like two ways, you know exactly what to expect, and they're just so good at both. Like there's not like a creaky wheel where you're just, IKF is there, but like there's not like a creaky wheel where it's like, this thing could be the undoing. Like it just feels ironclad on both sides, and man, it's been just a delight. Game 6 tonight. How you feeling? How you feeling? How you like reckoning with the Yamamoto of it all? Like, are you at all concerned that Yamamoto is going to go Yamamoto again, and the Jays will have to do this in 7? I think they will do it in 7 if they have to go to 7. To be clear, but it's not like I would like for them to just do it tonight. That'd be ideal. Yamamoto is horrifying, but second time seeing him, they've cooked good pitching all season long. I can't imagine they're going to get just picked apart to that degree again. Right? Like, even if it's like, okay, he goes 8 innings and gives up 1 run, I still am like, okay, bring on the Dodgers bullpen for that 1 inning and they'll torch them, right? Like, I don't know. I feel better than I should watching a Toronto sports team, but the team of destiny stuff is real.
Yeah, I very much want them to do it tonight, not only to avoid the anxiety of a Game 7, but also because I'm paying a kind of obscene amount of money to go to the game tonight. And if we get Yamamoto, I'm going to feel a type of way about that. Mm-hmm. But I do feel, again, just like this strange sense of calm about the whole thing, where even if they do lose tonight and get mowed down by Yamamoto again, I'm just going to have like the utmost faith that they'll rebound and win Game 7, because it's just what we've seen them do time after time all year. And so, look, I might be wrong about this and look like a fool, but right now I'm just brimming with confidence and feeling like one way or another, whether it's tonight or tomorrow night, that they're gonna win the World Series. And that is just the confidence that this particular team has instilled in me, and it's unlike anything I've really experienced as a fan in my life. So yeah, I'm going to the Dome tonight and hoping to see them win the World Series. But Yamamoto is a very tough customer. Would feel a lot better if Springer is back in the lineup. But just to close off my thoughts about this whole thing and everything we talked about with this team and how special it is, and also just like the way that they talk about it and talk about each other, and how tight-knit that group seems to be, and how likable.
Power friendship, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Team of uncommon men.
Ernie Clement, man, what a king.
And it's like, that really is a part of the sports fandom experience where you have all these parasocial relationships, right? Like it becomes important to you that they are important to each other. And so that's been part of it. And like all of these different aspects, it's like, for me, I was 5 years old when they last won the World Series. So like I have no memory of that whatsoever. Like I'm experiencing this effectively for the first time. And I've been saying like throughout the years, like I'm going to be telling my grandkids about this team. Like this is a special, special team. And I think when I do remember this years from now, and I think we're going to be talking, whether they win or lose, we're going to be talking about this team for the rest of our lives. And I think the reason for that is not just because, for all intents and purposes, it's going to be, or it is like my first experience of a pennant winning team and potentially a World Series winning team. I'm not just going to remember them for the fact that they were the first team in essentially like my cognizant lifetime to do that, but I'm going to remember them for the way that they did it. Yeah. And that to me is what's made it just extra special.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, for me, I was, my mother went into labor while at the first championship parade in '92. So there's like a through line of Jay's fandom that's just kind of like in the DNA. My first birthday party, the home video is the first half me being all cute and stuff, opening presents. The second half is my whole family getting lit watching the Joe Carter game. It's great. I got to get that put on I got to get that digitized.
That happened on your birthday?
The party was on my birthday. I think my birthday was like a day or two like before or after, but
Wow.
The home video is
Well,
that.
happy belated in that case.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, it was and like, for me, I mean, my son was born this summer. The day he was born was the day that Bo Bichette and Addison Barger hit the back-to-back home runs to beat the Diamondbacks in the walk-off. That was maybe the moment for me where I was like, oh, maybe there's something cooking here. Maybe there's something in the Woodley DNA. Child gets born, good baseball things happen. And, it's been, when you're at home all summer long taking care of a newborn, you watch a lot of baseball, like start to finish. It's awesome. It was a really nice thing of it. Just like this team all summer long. I probably watched more Blue Jays baseball than I ever have, just because I was at home all the time and it was just there and they were so compelling and I just like couldn't wait to watch the next game.
Yeah.
And so, like this is a season I'm always going to remember for like a lot of like, personal reasons, but for them to kind of pay it all off like this is just, something else, man. And I
got laid off at the end of June, like this has been a perfect confluence of circumstances for my Blue Jays fandom. Like I've been locked in on this team like never before.
Yeah.
And they're certainly rewarding that investment. So, and also like, I have a daughter, she's 4 years old. I've taken her to like 4 games this year. And she still doesn't really understand what she's watching, obviously, but like she knows who each of the players are on the team. Like she's decked out in Blue Jays gear, and I don't know if it's gonna work, but like I want to make sure that she has like some memory of this in the future, even if it's a hazy one, because it's a really special moment in time.
Yeah, I personally am excited, Joe, to single-handedly kickstart the physical media wave as I buy VHS tapes about the 2025 Toronto Blue Jays and watch them ad nauseum, like I did for the
Canada, right?
Yeah.
Like we all watched that as kids, and so now to be experiencing that basically in real time it's honestly surreal.
It's wild stuff, man. Wolf, always a pleasure having you on the show. Actually, we could announce this over the next little while here. Wolf's going to be a recurring Friday guest every 2 weeks, and we're going to do some X's and O's stuff, talk basketball. We will get back to basketball once the Blue Jays are over, we promise. But, we had to take a little sidebar today because, frankly, I don't think anyone in Toronto cares about the Toronto Raptors right now.
Yeah, nor should they.
Not as much as they do about the Toronto Blue Jays, which, that's the correct way to be. There you go, brother. Let's do it. We will have you back in a couple weeks, buddy, and we'll talk about the team hopefully not being 1-11 or whatever, and maybe they're playing some defense. Maybe the 25th best defense in the league by then. Fingers crossed. We'll see. We're gonna leave it there. Thank you so much, everyone, for following, subscribing, rating, review. Go check out Locked On Blue Jays if you want more Jays talk. Our pals Braden and Carter over there have been doing a great job covering the entire run. And go Birds. Enjoy it wherever you're watching. Be safe. All that stuff. And we'll celebrate Monday as we talk about a couple of Raptors games as well against the Cavs and the Grizzlies. 2 wins? 2 wins? 1 win. Let's get 1 win. How about that? We'll leave it there. Thank you so much.
Let's get both.
Hey, see, it's a Raptors podcast.
There we go.
We tied it all back. Have a good one. Bye.
See you at the parade.
That's a good omen. That's a good omen.
Team of Destiny.